If you're an American citizen, you need to hear this. Today, we're diving into something that's got everyone talking. So, Kamala Harris just announced that victims of Hurricane Helene will receive $750 each in aid. But wait, let me rephrase that. These victims will get $750 each, which they'll have to pay back after 1 year. Failure to do so. Guys, I don't even want to go there. What's really pissing people off is the fact that immigrants and other countries are benefiting more at the expense of Americans. Many feel it's a slap in the face to those who've lost everything. Kamala Harris emphasized that the aid is a temporary measure to help victims get back on their feet. However, critics argue that the repayment requirement places an undue burden on those already struggling. Many victims have voiced their concerns, stating that the aid feels more like a loan than actual help. Social media has been ablaze with reactions, with many calling the plan unfair and insensitive.
I want y'all to listen up. I'm a little ticked off. I just want you to know I'm a little ticked off, and I'm going to tell you why. $750. Oh my God. Where American tax dollars is being used to fund illegal aliens into our country. And these illegal aliens didn't pay one dime or one red cent into our systems. And all Kamala Harris and Tampon Timmy want to give us $750. Listen, you all, we only have one choice. One choice, and that's President Donald J. Trump. We cannot afford another 4 years of this, so you're going to have to vote like your life depends on it. Like when you're taking your breath and it's your last breath and you need that vote in order to breathe.
What's going on is Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me. Happy to be back in the city, downtown. You know what it is. So we'll be in the studio shortly so that we can do the Millionaire Morning Show. But how y'all feel about that $750? Oh, you ain't heard? The $750? That Kamala Harris is looking out for y'all, making sure that the hurricane victims is taken care of. Let me start off by saying that shout out to the hurricane victims, praying for you. I hope, honestly, that you guys are okay, that you rebuild, that you find peace, that, you know, for those of y'all that passed away, I'm praying for y'all family, because, again, I'm American first. And so I love this country. And when things happen to people of this country, and don't get me wrong, I'm mindful of what happened across the world, but I'm really, really passionate about what happens to my people here in America. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what your sexual orientation is. Now, I could disagree with you about your lifestyle, but I still care about your humanity. And so when we think about that, right, and we start to really put things in perspective about where our priorities are and how we separate ourselves, because I think that everything that's going on in society, a lot of it, are distractions. I think this whole Diddy thing is a distraction. I seen Jaguar Wright on Piers Morgan the other day. Distraction. And the reason that it's a distraction is not because it's not something that is entertaining or bad or egregious and freak offs and all of that. But how does that affect my fucking life? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sorry. For all of the people that said, Anton, be careful about all of the swearing, I'm working on it. You're going to have some patience with me. I got bad habits, and bad habits, you know, it take a minute for us to readjust or whatever, right? But putting it in perspective, does any of this even really matter? You know what I'm saying? Like, Diddy's life and whether he was diddling at parties and stuff has no bearing on me whatsoever. And so when I see certain things happen and I see certain things play out, I'm like, you know, I automatically question to myself, is this a distraction? Is this something that I should even care about? I mean, it's entertaining. Ooh, wow. You know, because I grew up in that era where hip hop was important and everybody wanted to be a rapper, but I didn't know they had to go through a rite of passage in order to do so. And so that has no bearing on me. You know what I'm saying? And again, I know that it gets views and clicks and it's entertaining, but I don't see the same energy happening for the hurricane victims. North Carolina, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee. I don't see people putting the same amount of energy.
So let me get this straight. We have an active vice president who is running for the presidency of the United States. We have a catastrophic disaster on the east coast of our country. Why have we not heard from Kamala Harris? Why have we not heard from Joe Biden? Why is this administration showing us time and time again why we should not put them back into the White House? Because Kamala, do you want to get elected as president? Show us what you can do when shit hits the fan, which is right now. This is a layup for any presidential candidate. Donald Trump can only do so much. He's not in office. Kamala Harris, you are literally in office right now and can do something. Show us why we should vote for you when shit gets tough. Because that's really what we need a president for when shit gets tough. You not showing up is going to be detrimental for you in November because of how you're handling this right now. God, help us.
Offered $750 to Americans. $750 to Americans while she gets on her knees for Ukraine and all these other places. Someone has to explain to me how you can be a Democrat in 2024 and think that that's okay. How do these people rebuild their lives? Like, do y'all not? And then you walk around here playing the victims all the time. Y'all as professional victims should be very, very well versed in fairness, right? You claim all this stuff. Now, watching it happen to the poor people in certain areas of this country, how are you not disgusted by the party that you support? $750 to Americans, while she just throws money to Ukraine.
Is unbelievably generous. She is giving $750 to Americans that have lost everything in Hurricane Helene. What a leader she is. So far this year, this administration has given over $24 billion to Ukraine, $11 billion to Israel, around $1 million to Jordan and then Egypt, $1 million to Afghanistan, around $800,000 to Syria, and on average around $9,000 per illegal immigrant. And this woman still has the audacity to stand up in front of a camera and say that she is giving $750 for hurricane victims. Are we not the people that she's supposed to represent? How many times does this woman have to openly say she is not with you, she is not for you, and she is not America first for you to stop voting for her or wanting her to be president? And it gets better. Mayorkas said that FEMA does not have enough funding for this hurricane season. Well, here's a thought. Maybe FEMA would have enough funding if they didn't spend over $1 billion on legal immigrants. You don't believe me? Here's $650 million in 2024 alone. And here's $363.8 million in 2023. These people have lost everything. And this is the best our vice president and our president can do for the people that they're supposed to represent. Please, 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 I am begging you, do not fumble the bag this November.
The American people to fund their own relief when they're already suffering. But he can send billions of dollars to other countries who are in need. How about we put our own first? Also, Biden, where are you? Trump was just in Valdosta, Georgia. Also, Miss Harris, why are you living it up in Vegas right now? Our country is literally underwater. Biden pretty much just said F you to the American people. Gotta love this administration.
The United States government just announced a $157 million humanitarian aid package for Lebanon. It's going to provide food, improve shelters, and offer health care for displaced Lebanese civilians. Meanwhile, on Wednesday, during her trip to Augusta, Georgia, Vice President Kamala Harris announced $750 in immediate cash assistance for anyone impacted by Hurricane Helene. However, to access this money, she said people can apply online through a link. But many people living in Western North Carolina, they still have no water, no power, and no way to access roads to leave their home. So at this time, unless FEMA comes knocking at their door, they have no way to apply for this money. The vice president also announced that FEMA would be providing tens of thousands of dollars in home repairs to cover a deductible when and if they have flood insurance. Less than 1% of people in Western North Carolina who have lost everything have flood insurance.
Hurricane Helene left a trail of devastation in its wake. Homes were destroyed, businesses were leveled, families were left with nothing but the clothes on their backs. But even in the face of such adversity, the American spirit shone. Across the affected areas, neighbors helped neighbors. People opened their homes to those who had lost everything. Volunteers worked tirelessly to clear debris and distribute supplies. Stories of selflessness and compassion emerged from the wreckage. One particularly moving story involved a group of college students who used their spring break to travel to the affected region. They spent their days distributing food, water, and clothing to those in need. Their efforts brought comfort and hope to a community struggling to rebuild. While the nation has come together in many ways, the federal government's response to Hurricane Helene has sparked controversy. Vice President Kamala Harris announced a relief package of $750 per household for those affected by the storm. This announcement was met with mixed reactions. Some praised the move as a step in the right direction, albeit a small one. Others criticized the amount as being woefully inadequate to address the scale of the devastation. Many pointed out that $750 would barely cover a week's worth of groceries, let alone the cost of rebuilding a home or replacing lost belongings. The controversy highlights the complex challenges facing policymakers in the wake of natural disasters. Balancing immediate needs with long-term recovery efforts is a delicate task. In this case, the federal government's response has left many feeling frustrated and disillusioned.
How does $750 even begin to touch the losses we've suffered? My entire life savings were wiped out in this storm.
It's insulting to offer such a paltry sum when people are struggling to put a roof over their heads.
Lost everything in Helene. $750 won't even cover a week of groceries. Where do we go from here?
Social media platforms have become a sounding board for those affected by Hurricane Helene. People have taken to Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram to share their stories, express their frustrations, and demand better support from their elected officials. These raw and unfiltered accounts provide a glimpse into the human toll of this disaster. They serve as a stark reminder that behind the statistics and news headlines are real people whose lives have been upended by this tragedy. As we move forward from this disaster, we must remember that the road to recovery is a marathon, not a sprint. It will require sustained effort and support from all levels of government, the private sector, and individuals. While the $750 relief package may be a starting point, it is crucial that we do not allow this to be the end of the conversation. We must continue to advocate for those affected by Hurricane Helene and hold our elected officials accountable for providing meaningful and substantial assistance. In the meantime, let us continue to support one another. Let us remember the spirit of unity and compassion that emerged in the aftermath of this disaster. Together, we will rebuild and emerge stronger than ever before.